Hi and welcome. In this chapter, we will discuss about AWS regions and availability zones. So, when it comes to cloud, regions and availability zones are very important. So, let's see what is AWS region. So, AWS region is a cluster of data center in a specific geographic area. So, it means each region represents a geographic area where AWS services are available. For example, let's say if you wanted to deploy a workload in India, so you will have a region in India which is Mumbai. So in Mumbai, AWS is having their presence. So that's where we call Mumbai as a region. Similarly, in US, there are a number of regions are available. So let's imagine if you wanted to deploy a workload in Virginia, so you have a regions in Virginia. So this is how region works. So if you go to the AWS website, so you will see what are the regions and what are the services available in the regions. For example, let's imagine North America. So you can see, so the green represents the availability of regions and red represents coming soon. So it means as of now it is not there, but AWS is planning to bring the services in this particular region. So as you can see in US we have one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions. Similarly, if we look into Asia, so let's go to Asia Pacific. So here we have the region in India, which is Central Mumbai, and then we have a region in Hyderabad. Similarly, if you go to the other place, for example, China or Japan, etc. So we'll have the presence. So if you go to Middle East, we have a presence in UAE as well as Bahrain. So in Israel, it is coming soon, but as of now, in the Middle East, we have only two regions. So this is how region works. So it is not necessary that all the services should be available in all the region. Some region may have some services and some region may not have some services. So it's purely depend on with the AWS how they're bringing the services to each regions. So whenever you deploy any workloads in Amazon, first thing you need to choose your region which is very closer to you. So for example, let's imagine I am here in UAE. So if I wanted to deploy my virtual machines in UAE, I have to choose the region as UAE. I should not choose something like Central India or Tel Aviv or any other region because it will induce extra latency. So always you have to choose the region which is closer to your end users in order to have a low latency connections. So once we choose a region, then there is something called availability zones. So a availability zone is a standalone data center or a set of data center within a region. Each AZ operates independently, so a failure in one won't affect others. So as you can see here in this diagram, once you select the region, for example region A or region B, so within the region we will have multiple data centers. So let's say in this particular region A we have four availability zones. So here in this region B we have three availability zones. So availability zones are nothing but it is a independent physical location where we have AWS data center. So within a region, we will have multiple data center in order to avoid single point of failure. So let's imagine you have a critical workload. So you wanted to deploy virtual machines, which is responsible for critical workload. So if you choose any particular region and if you deploy five virtual machines, which is responsible for the critical workload, let's say in that particular data center, if you have any issues, then you will end up in complete outage. So it is always advised you spread your workload across the availability zones. For example, let's say deploy two virtual machines here, one virtual machine here, one here, and one here. So now instead of deploying all the five VMs in one data center or one availability zone, you are going to deploy it in across all the availability zones which is available in this particular region. Even though if this availability zone goes down, still you have three more availability zones to support the application. Similarly, let's say even though two data center goes down or availability zone goes down, still you'll have two more availability zones to support the critical workload. So this is how it is always very important to choose availability zones when you deploy your workload in order to have a highly available solution. So, in a nutshell, for example, let's imagine if you wanted to deploy a workload in AWS, first you need to choose a region. So, always choose a region which is near to you to have a low latency connection. So, once you have a region, then you need to select availability zones to deploy your workload. So, always deploy your workload on availability zone. Do not deploy your workloads without availability zones. So this is the best practice when it comes to availability zones and regions.